Hello, everyone. Welcome to my show, Soul Tea with Marie. I'm so happy for you to join me, and I have a fantastic special guest tonight that I cannot wait to get to. But first, I just want to do my little intro, which is if you want to reach me, you can go to AntoinetteMarie.net. I do readings, I do oracle readings, tarot readings, and I am a medium and intuitive psychic. You can also find me on Instagram, Soul Tea for Marie, and Facebook as well. I don't know if I'm missing anything or not, but I'm just so ecstatic to welcome my guest that if I miss something, I miss something. So this is my guest she is Angela Teal, and she is a star seed. Now all of us are technically star seeds, but she's a little bit different. She definitely is not from Earth. Like some of us are from Lemuria, Atlantis, or the solar system, or in this vicinity of Earth. We've come from here. She has not. She also is a walk-in. If you don't know what a walk-in is when your soul, you're born into a baby, obviously, and then you grow up. And at some point, usually if you've been through extreme trauma, you will ask to be relieved of your duty of being here on earth, basically. And a walk-in will come in and take over the rest of the way. It's rare. It doesn't usually happen. Usually we don't have that option. We pray or ask the universe or our higher self we want to be done, and usually we're not done. We have to remain here. But she is a walk-in. So here she is, Miss Angela Teal, to talk about her experience in her life with us. How are you?
Hello, hello. I'm so excited to be here. This is one of those super awesome synchronistic things. And when you invited me to be part of this podcast, I was just ecstatic. So I'm very happy to be here and ready to dive into this.
Awesome. And I'm just going to ask you a bunch of questions. I know a lot of this is personal, so if you find there's something that you don't want to talk about, just let me know and we can move on from that. So,
I'm an open book. So I
okay,
don't, there's nothing off limits for me. We can talk about
okay,
anything.
perfect. So, let's start with being a star seed, or did you not realize that until the walk-in happened?
I knew that I was a star seed a few years ago. That was very apparent to me. I started my metaphysical journey in 2014 when I went to a past life regression class, a meditation class. That was my very first tiptoe into the metaphysical world. So that started when I got my first glimpse of my past life. That just opened the door for me. So it was a chakra class, then a pendulum class, and then a tarot class. Like I just started soaking up all of this information, any information that I could get. And then it was also, I've always followed astrology just because. And that helped me realize how much the planets have to offer us. And I don't remember the book that I got or if it was an article or something, but the very first time I heard starseed, I was like, "Wow, how interesting." I think it was a book that somebody had let me borrow, and I just kind of started just sifting through it, and it hit me. I was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like I know that I'm not from here. Like it just felt like home. And when we had our meeting the other day, I've always felt homesick. I have never once ever felt like this was my home. So I've known for a few years. Yeah.
Do you think that you were visited in your younger years?
Yes, I do. I remember some instances as a young child seeing things in my room at nighttime. And when I went to my mom about it as a young child, I grew up in Catholicism. So I grew up Catholic. And what I was told by my mom and also an aunt that I was very close to, that it was angels visiting me. So that automatically made me feel not as afraid. I was a very fearful child. I always moved my hands. It was like it was just I was constantly it was almost like I was trying to get a feel for what this planet was like looking back. Like it was a almost a nervous tick, but I was very fearful of a lot of things as a child. And so they helped quiet the fear down. And I think maybe I wasn't quite ready for it, but I did get little snippets of things as a child. I'm just now getting to a point. I've been doing a lot of work on my past trauma. I have a lot of things that I don't remember, so there's some things that are coming up, and I'm pretty sure I'll probably remember more as my journey continues.
Oh, I would think so. I want to ask you because you said that some things made you frightful and that you had some visitations. So on both of those, I'm curious, like, were you frightful of just your surroundings? And I know with other star seeds, I'm curious for you, did you find that like when you are trying new foods or you're trying clothes, like it's even your skin, you're trying to figure it all out. Like, what is this? And I know even as when we come here as souls, we're trying to figure that out. But I find that star seeds really, it's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, very much so. I always took my clothes off as a kid. Clothes always bothered me, so I still am not a huge fan. I would rather have less clothes on just because it's more comfortable. And I do remember spending a lot of time in the bathroom in a mirror because full length mirror, like studying everything. Like I would study and I would just sit and just look at the pores on my hands, and I would just look at my toenails, and I would look at everything, and I just get so close to the mirror and just looking at my body and trying to figure things out. And foods is that's interesting because I ended up with a bit of a food addiction. Was my first addiction was food, but I was also very turned off by certain foods. So yeah, I now that we're talking about it, I realize just how much time I spent. Like, what is this? Like, wow, oh, this is so cool. Like, what is it?
Right, right. So what were some of the visits? You said you had a few visits. Do you remember any of those?
I remember a green figure. It was almost Hmm, like a neon, like yellowish green, and all it was kind of like the outline of what had come to visit me. And when I opened my eyes, it was standing like next to my bed, um, and I could see it was almost like a smoke. It was very ethereal. And as soon as I saw it, I got instantly afraid. And when I got afraid, it got very, very small, almost like what you would think a fairy would look like. And then it circled around my ceiling fan blades. But it was so large when it showed up. So I think looking back now, I think it got small to let me know that I didn't have to be afraid of it. So that was the very first instance that I remember. And the other ones were dreams. So I was very active. I've always been an active dreamer, and about a year and a half ago is when I started the dream walks and the dream crew that I work with. But as a child, I would visit places in my dreams. I would go places a lot in my dreams, and I didn't remember doing that until about a year and a half ago when I started with the dream crew that I work with now. It just sparked all these dreams I used to have as a child, and I loved going to sleep at nighttime. I was so excited.
Right, right. So what is the dream crew? What is that?
So I started about a year and a half ago journaling my dreams because I would wake up and feel very moved. My dreams were very vivid, and I think I was very excited about it because I was just coming out of active addiction again. I was letting go of the drugs. I was letting go of the alcohol. This was 3 months after my walk-in situation. So I had moved. I'm originally from Texas. I had moved from Texas to Tennessee. I sold everything I owned. I moved into an RV and I left everything. And I left and I spent a year in the mountains of Tennessee with my dogs. And for this healing journey, because I knew that if I didn't, I wasn't going to be on this earth much longer. And now I know that I was already okay because of the walk-in situation. Um, but I started journaling my dreams. And then one night I had this dream where I was with like 5 or 6 people. It's the same 5 or 6 people. They look different most of the time in the dreams, but I recognize them when I get to, dreamscape. So we were told there was a timer on the wall, and we were given these backpacks, and we had to figure out the latches on these backpacks and the countdown. And there was a countdown. And as soon as the buzzer went off, we were all like, oh, and I woke up. And that was my first instance. And then a few days later, I was in Dreamscape. I was in the back of a convertible with like these people, and I was like, I think I know them. And we got out, and we were all standing at this apartment complex, and it was not Earth, but it looked Earth-like. And when I looked at them, I was like, hey, y'all are the ones from a few nights ago. And they're like, yeah. So I realized it was happening more and more often. And every time we're either sent to a class or we have to figure something out. We went to a class that Elon Musk had. He came to in my dream. So, and he let me know what we were doing there. Like we were helping him figure some things out. He was standing up in the front of the class, and I don't really remember everything that it was about, but it's a lot of figuring things out is what we do. So we have something different. There's one guy who works off planet, and he's almost late every morning, and he has to get to the shuttle before the sun comes up, because if he doesn't, then he misses work. So it's been very interesting, and it's been the same group for a year and a half now. And just the other night we all met up, and it was after I met you, and you came to us and gave us this really awesome bag, and it was something that we needed, and I didn't get a chance to open it, but they were like, hey, tell her we said thank you. And I was like, yeah, I will. So it's been great.
That's amazing. Was it Prada? Just kidding.
It was very nice. It probably was. It was white. It looked like it was made of like felt like it was made of a soft leather. It had a dark brown handle, and it had these little bluish, purplish flowers that were all over it. And it was very pretty. It was very, very pretty, heavy. So I'm not really sure what it is, but yeah, maybe I'll get a chance to see it again.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm not surprised that Elon Musk was in your dream, because I do believe he's not from here.
Oh
He's
yeah,
just
definitely. I know that he's not for sure.
Yeah, no. So let me ask you about your walk-in. How did that happen?
Wow. Okay. So it happened November of 2021. And at the time, I was going through a very dark time. And when 2020, when all of that happened, I've been in the fitness industry since 2009. And at the time, I was managing a Pilates studio, and it tanked because of everything that was happening. So I moved with my teenager at the time. Back in with my parents, and I hit this place of severe depression because my kid and I had been arguing for years at this point. It had been like 2 to 3 years of these intense arguments as a single mom. It was very tumultuous. Moving back home, there were some other traumatic events that happened around that time involving her, involving my parents as well. Like my family just had this huge, I'm an only child, and my family had this like huge argument. And a few months before that, and we all just kind of like went our separate ways. And I was staying with a really good friend of mine because my kid hated the RV. So we were staying with a friend of mine, and I was miserable. Like I was so sad. Like I spent from 2020 until the middle of 2022 in my bed, and I almost drank myself to death because I had felt like I had lost everything that I had worked so hard for. All of my 14 years in a career, my parents, my kid was slipping away. And I started drinking, and I got back into the use of substances. At the time, I was also on mood stabilizers. I went to the doctor, and they got big pharma involved again. And it was a lot. And I did not want to be here. I didn't want to be here. There was a time when I went by myself there for a little bit, and I was trying very hard to figure things out. So what ended up happening was it's almost like I felt the end was coming. Like I felt like I was like, my heart was doing some very weird things. Like my body, I was staying up for like a day or two at a time at that point, like I was just running myself ragged. And I left my friend's house. I drove my kid back to the RV because she was like, "I just want some alone time, mom. Like, can I just go back to the RV?" I was like, "Yeah, it's fine." And we had dinner planned at my friend's house, so I left her at home. It took 20 minutes to get from the RV to my friend's house. So I left, and about the halfway point, I was driving down the interstate, and I remembered feeling tired, but I was bopping to the radio because I love music and it was a good song. And I was just like, "God, I feel a little tired." The next thing I know, I'm coming to, and I'm about to drive my car into a lake. And the only thing that stopped me was like an embankment, but I was driving through somebody's yard. And the woman comes out like cursing, like, "What are you doing? We're driving through my yard," and all this stuff. And all I could think was, what's going on? Like, it just, I had no idea what was going on. My first thought was like, why am I about to drive my car into a lake? Like, wow, you know? So I stopped, and the woman was just so hateful. And I just burst into tears. And I went to look down at my phone, and I had 59% battery on my phone. The last time I looked at it, whenever I was tired, I was like, "I'm kind of tired. What time is it?" And I don't remember what time it was. But I remember I had 59% battery on my phone. And when I looked down, I had no battery, like, on my, like, my phone was dead, and I was just so confused. So they called the police. Police showed up. They did all of the sobriety tests. I didn't know what to say. So I just let them know that, because my daughter and I have been arguing a lot, and I just told them I was hysterical. I didn't know what else to say. I said I was hysterical over the arguments, like, "I'm just trying to get back to my friend's house." And then they were like, "What? Do you even know what time it is?" And I was like, "I had no idea. Like, I had no idea even what time it was. I wasn't even sure what had happened." So they told me, they said, "Well, we can't let you drive. Like, you've passed the sobriety test, but like, honestly, we can't let you drive." So they impounded my car, and they told me I could call my friend, and I didn't have any numbers in my head. I didn't know who to call. I said, "I need you. My phone is dead. I said, I need your charger." And I'm from that area. So they were like, how could you not know who to call? I was like, I can't remember numbers. I'd lied. I had to lie. I was like, I don't know what to tell them. So I
Wow.
charged my phone, and I called my friend, and she picked me up. And when I looked back at it, it was 40 minutes that had passed between the time that I said that in my head, that I was getting tired, until the time that I was about to drive into the lake. And for the longest time, I was like worried, like, what else did I do? Like, where did I go? I'm from that area, so I knew where I was, but I don't know how I got there, because I was driving where I felt like I was tired was the interstate. The next exit I must have taken, and there was a lake with, like, people who have RVs and stuff. That's where they live, and some people um they were starting to build houses in the back, and that's where I had driven to the part where they were building houses. And the police officer said, "How did you drive through all of that construction?" Evidently, I drove my car through construction at one point, and like, that's the only way that I could have gotten there. But everybody asked me how I got there, and have no idea. So I was a bit perplexed about that for a long time, until I read about walk-ins. And as soon as I read that, I was like, "Oh wow." Oh, wow. And until then, I haven't really said anything about it, because, it's just one of those situations. Like, who do you talk to about it, unless, you talk to somebody who's comfortable with this sort of conversation, until I met with you and you confirmed it. And I was like, yeah, that's it.
So what happened after the walk-in? Didn't you had addictions and everything, and then after the walk-in, they just completely went away?
Well, that was November. January, I continued for a little bit longer, but it didn't feel the same. I just didn't feel the same after that. Like, everything felt different, everything looked different, everything tasted different. But at that point, I no longer felt like I was about to die. I just knew that I had to make the choice to change everything, which I already had in plan. My fiance and I are long distance. He is in he bounces between the UK and Germany, and he comes home twice a year, and we have a very long vacation, usually a month long together. And we had a vacation that was planned in December. So I knew if I could just make it a few more weeks and get to him, I could talk to him, because he knew he knew what happened, but he didn't know what it meant. But I just felt like if I could just get to him, I would be safe. So, like, I wasn't drinking as much. The drug use did, like, taper off some, But by December, I decided to get off of all of my mood stabilizers. That was the first thing that I stopped. So I stopped that, and then I stopped all of the drugs, and then I stopped the alcohol. But I have been an addict off and on my whole life. Like, food was my first addiction, and then I started dabbling in drugs as a young teenager, so this is something that I've fought. I've been to rehab before, and it all just kind of crept back up again. But yeah, since then, like I've been able to, I don't even want, like I look back and go, wow, it feels like I'm watching a movie because it's not the same person that I am now. Like as of today, I'm on day 55 of a juice cleanse. Like that girl couldn't have juiced for 55 days and woken up and done breath work every morning. And, like it's just, I feel like a different person.
That's amazing. It's amazing. Not so many people out there are walk-ins. I know you had also mentioned to me how after that day, those 45 minutes, and then you came back and you're in your life, and then with your child and with your mother, with your family, even that felt foreign, and they all dissipated out of your life since then.
Yeah, they have. February of 2022 is the last time I saw my mom, my dad, or my child. I kept a little bit of contact with my dad, but my dad quit talking to me a little over a year ago on my birthday. And I haven't, like, and I went back to Texas and stayed with my grandmother, and I really wanted to see them. But my dad called my grandmother and said, we've got things that we're doing in town today. That was the day that we were supposed to all see each other. So it was like they let me know, like, no. So yeah, I don't have any contact with them, and I'm okay with that now because I am a different person, and I'm on the path now to I'm on the path now that I think I chose before I came here. I think I veered so far off and I didn't have direction. But now I feel like I do have direction. So I also realized this was a little bit before the walk-in. Another spiritual mentor of mine, we used to meet every other week. It was during quarantine. We would meet every other week and we would do work. We would do soul work. We would do meditations, like guided meditations together. And one day we got to meet different aspects of self. And I got to meet the aspect of self that you pointed out to me the other day. Her name is Alium Ah. And she is very large, like 9, 10 feet tall. And she's this bluish purplish skin, and she has all of these beautiful like gems and everything on her, and she is very stoic but extremely smart and doesn't need words. And when I sat across the table from her, and when I realized that that is me and I am her, that was life changing for me. So I think it's all just synced in together. So I think that I honestly think that she, which is me, I think granted myself this because I was on my way out.
So what is your path now?
Well, I've been a personal trainer and a health coach since 2009, and I absolutely love helping people fall in love with themselves. Like, I love watching people like who would come into the gym and like, oh, they hate working out and like blah blah blah, and all just whining and complaining and griping, and then all of a sudden they like lose a couple of pounds and buy themselves a new shirt, or they do an exercise that they couldn't do before that they're excited about. And then it's like you see people like walking in with their head down, and then you see people walking up a little bit, and then you see people like skipping up the step to get to the gym. Like, it's like this process. And that's why I'm here. Like, I am here. I am a guide, and I know that. I'm just now, it's time for me to be a guide in a different way. So I'll always take workout questions because I love teaching people how to use their bodies. So that is part of it, but now I feel like I have more of a spiritual calling because I'm here to guide people. I'm a light, and I know that, and it was just covered in this muck for so long. But now I feel like I've like cleaned this light off, and then it's time for me to shine because like stuff like this, give me a microphone and 1,000 people. Like, I love it. I don't shy away from crowds. I don't shy away from video. I don't shy away from cameras. Like, I like for people to notice me, and I like to guide people out of a dark situation.
I love it. I love it. It's interesting you're talking about being a light. So when we first came on, my light, everything was working. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm dark. Like my ring light, everything is kind of, I don't know, it's a little dim.
Oh, wow.
So, which is fine, but I was like, oh, that's some energy there. I had someone else on a couple weeks ago, and her phone just died, and she tried to come on again, and sometimes energy does that. So, but
It
anyway,
does. It
it
does.
does.
Yeah, I have issues with technology most of the time. Most of the time, which is interesting because I am visited, and I now know the name of my guide. The Arcturians are very close to me. I get visited often. I've been getting visited by the Arcturians. Not too long after the dream work done is when they started to visit me, and they're all about technology. So it's interesting. I think all of my technological work is done in Dreamscape. It's not done here because yeah, I crash phones, and it's like if I get a laptop, it's guaranteed it's going to take me 4 hours to get the new thing set up because it glitches and things happen, and you know, yeah. So definitely a big power pull sometimes.
Oh, I believe that. I know we talked about Ashtar. Ashtar is one of your guides.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's been great because we've had contact, but it's great to know his name, because I've asked my guides names for years, and I've only had one give me her name, and her name was Fern, and we're no longer connected because she's been born on Earth. So she's an actual human at this point, somewhere walking around. But yeah, uh, uh, yeah. So Ashtar has been great. He's helped me out a lot over the last few days, just because we've gotten even closer, which is great.
We only have a few more minutes, but I know we're talking about Ashtar and the different places. So where do you think you're originally from?
I don't know where I'm originally from, but I do know that I've got gene spliced with Mintakan, which was a water planet, and also Hadarian, which I can time stretch. So for some reason, I could give myself more time to do things, which not for some reason, but for that reason.
Okay, we have like a minute and a half. What is time stretch?
When you feel like you have a deadline, and then all of a sudden it feels like you just have a little more extra time to do things.
And you can do that here, not in your dream.
Yeah, I do that here.
Interesting. So you are able to bend time,
yeah,
to complete a project.
Yeah, our superimposed time is the only way I know how to really describe it. Like I feel like sometimes I can splice what's happening over what's already happened.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Okay, so we have less than a minute. So can people reach you if they want to ask you questions?
Yeah, sure. So you can contact me through Instagram. I'm just now getting ready to kind of like come out into the world. So this is a second podcast I've done in a month. So I feel like things are going to start ramping up for me. So yeah, just keep a lookout and find me on Instagram.
Where can they find you?
GGTeal, GGTEAL.
On Instagram.
Yeah.
Thank you, Angela, for coming on. And you know what? I think we could do this again because I would like to ask you about your home planet and more of your dreaming. And I know people will have questions, and I would love to dive into that. But I do want to thank everyone for watching this evening, and tune in next week. And yeah, thank you. And namaste to everyone that is watching, and I will see you again